Welcome to DepEd Order 21 Series of 2015, also known as the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Coordination and Information Management Protocol. The references to this DepEd order are RA 10121, also known as the Philippines Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010, and DepEd Order 50 Series of 2011, also known as the Creation of Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. RA 10121 mandates all national government agencies to institutionalize policies, structures, coordination mechanisms, and programs with continuing budget appropriation on disaster risk reduction and management from national to local levels. And also the DepEd Order 50 Series of 2011, which mandates the said office to initiate and spearhead the establishment of mechanisms which prepare, guarantee protection, and increase resiliency of the Department of Education constituents in the face of disaster. This protocol is, as well as the roles and responsibilities of the DepEd region, schools division, and schools, including the DRRM coordinators, are being articulated here with the following objectives. 1. Provide guidance to regions and schools divisions, including the DRRM coordinators, on how to act before, during, and after disasters. Second is to capacitate the DRRMO coordinators and other DepEd constituents to disasters and emergencies. And three, to facilitate immediate and efficient information flow during disasters and emergencies. The coordination protocol provides the basis for and directs which office should respond depending on the extent of a disaster or emergency. On the other hand, the information management protocol demonstrates the proper flow of data from schools to central office and vice versa. For the definition of terms, hazard. Hazard is a potentially damaging physical event, phenomenon, or human activity which may cause the loss of life or injury, property damage, social and economic disruption, or environmental degradation. Example are typhoon, flood, earthquake, and landslide. In this picture, the stone on top of the mountain is a hazard, and the people below that are the vulnerability. Disaster. A serious disruption of the functioning of a community or social or society, causing widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses which exceed the ability of the affected community, society, to cope using its own resources. So in this illustration, kung ang bato nahulog kag nagtupa sa mga tao, it is called a disaster already. The risk, the probability of harmful consequences, expected loss resulting from interaction between natural or human-induced hazards and vulnerable or capable conditions. The formula for risk is equal to hazard multiplied to vulnerability over capacity. In this regard, kung dako ang hazard kag ang vulnerability, means dako man ang risgo. But if the capacity is bigger, then malesen ang risk. Risk assessment analysis, a methodology to determine the nature and extent of risk by analyzing potential hazard and evaluating existing conditions of vulnerability that could pose a potential threat or harm to people, property, livelihood, and the environment on which they depend. Capacity, the combination of all the strength. So we mentioned here the strength, the attributes and resources available within a community, society, or organization that can be used to achieve agreed goals. So this training is for the capacity building in terms of facing disasters and emergencies. Preparedness, the knowledge and capacities developed by governments, professional response and recovery organizations, communities, and individuals to effectively anticipate, respond to, and recover from the impacts of likely imminent or current hazard events or conditions. So we mentioned here anticipate and respond to. That means wala pa nakaabot ang disaster, na-anticipate na naton and we know how to respond and to recover from it. In this illustration, nakita naton nga nahulog na ang bato sa bukid. So ang himo naton, malagyo na kita nga daan. So that is preparedness. Emergency, any situation in which the life or well-being of a community will be threatened unless immediate and appropriate action is taken, which demands an extraordinary response and exceptional measures. Recovery and rehabilitation, measures that ensure the ability of affected communities, areas, to restore their normal level of functioning by rebuilding livelihood and damaged infrastructures and increasing the community's organizational capacity. So in this illustration, ang isa ka mahina nga chair ginpungkuan kung naguba, that is a disaster. Now if you build a new chair nga mas better siya, that is reconstruction. On the right illustrations, sa naguba ang chair kag imo lang siya gin-repair, that is called rehabilitation. Prevention and mitigation, the limitation of the adverse impacts of hazards and related disasters. Mitigation measures encompass engineering techniques and hazard-resistant construction, as well as improve environmental policies and public awareness. Now in these two illustrations, sa prevention, ang bato sa ibabaw ginhigta na siya para hindi siya mahulog. So that is prevention. On the right illustration is mitigation. Hindi siya mapunggan, but since naghimo ikaw sang taming o kon shield, nga kung magtupain na siya ang impact sa imo malesen, that is mitigation. For the DRRM roles and responsibilities, schools shall be the primary source of data as DepEd's frontline service provider, to the learners being the primary stakeholders. With the leadership of the school heads, herewith is the minimum list of roles and responsibilities that schools should endeavor in order to establish a culture of safety. So here are the minimum list of roles and responsibilities. Schools should ensure the establishment of an early warning system. Examples are the bulletin board for weather advisories, the bell, siren, or buzzer for emergency signal, among others. Conduct an annual student-led risk identification and mapping within and around the school premises to ensure a safe environment that is conducive to teaching and learning. Maintain close coordination with local DRRM Council on the conduct of preparedness activities and on response needs, among others. So amo ning ginahimo naton when we invite our local fire inspectors, fire marshals to train us earthquake drill and fire drills. Provide capacity building for teachers, non-teaching staff, and learners on DRRM. Also to maintain, disseminate, and post relevant and updated emergency hotlines in strategic location throughout the school. Posting of safety and preparedness measures and evacuation plans. Conduct disaster preparedness measures, including but not limited to quarterly multi-hazard drills applicable to the school's identified hazards such as earthquake, fire, and flood. So ang aton drills should not be limited only to earthquake drills, but we should also conduct fire drills, flood drills, and even storm surge drills. Maintain the safekeeping of vital records and learning materials. And also to organize the school DRRM team. So ang bago natin structure subong gina-name in as SDRRMT or School Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Team. School Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Team is organized to support the implementation of preparedness and response measures. Ensure the availability of updated baseline education data of the school. Integrate DRRM in regular school programs and activities and school improvement plan or the ASIP. Pre-identify possible temporary learning spaces or TLS and alternative delivery modes of education. And also we need to monitor the effects of hazards, including the use of the school as evacuation center. Track all school personnel during disasters and emergencies. Prepare and submit reports on the effects of any hazard. And ensure the implementation of DepEd Order Number 43, Series of 2012, or the guidelines on the implementation of Executive Order Number 66, Series of 2012. It's all about prescribing rules on the cancellation of or suspension of classes and work in government offices due to typhoons, flooding, and other weather disturbances and calamities. Conduct rapid assessment of damages, also known as Radar 1 and Radar 2, after every hazard and submit within 72 hours via SMS. Facilitate immediate resumption of classes to track learners. And to monitor recovery and rehabilitation interventions being implemented in the school. DRRM coordinators at all levels. A school DRRM coordinator. The school head may serve as the school DRRM coordinator, but shall appoint and alternate among other school personnel to assist in the implementation of DRRM. In many cases, damos ang aton nga mga schools, ang ila school DRR coordinator is not the school head, but the school teacher. School DRRM coordinators should acknowledge receipt of advisories and reminders from the school's division superintendent or the school's division office DRRM coordinator. Spearhead the conduct of multi-hazard drills and other disaster prevention, mitigation, and preparedness activities in school. Ensure the conduct of an annual student-led risk identification and mapping. Amuning ginatawag naton nga hazard mapping kag gina-conduct sa school watching team. Communicate notable results of risk assessment and other disaster preparedness activities to the school's division office. Serve as the point person for collaboration and coordination with local DRRM council and other partner organizations. Ensure that emergency hotlines are maintained, updated, and posted. ensure the availability of baseline data of the school, and spearhead relevant and necessary capacity building activities for the school. Report to the school's division office any hazard affecting the school operations such as flood, conflict, fire, among others. So anytime nga ang school maka-encounter isang hazard, dapat ma-report gid sa school's division office. Submit and accomplish rapid assessment of damages report within 72 hours after any hazard or emergency via SMS. Track and report the progress of recovery and rehabilitation initiatives to the school's division office, and report and update the school's division office on the demobilization of evacuation centers in schools. The early warning. DepEd Central Office, DRRMO, sends warnings, alerts, tracking reminders, and other requests for reports to all identified affected regions and divisions. Some of these messages can be forwarded to all schools to facilitate the gathering of reports. Upon issuance of an advisory by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council and other warning agencies, the DepEd Central Office, DRRMO, will send advisories, alerts, and warning messages to all local DepEd key officials of regions and division, as well as the DRRM coordinators. All DRRM coordinators and DepEd region and division key officials should acknowledge or respond to the advisories received from DepEd DRRMO. Also, the advisories on weather forecast or other environmental conditions should be forwarded to schools by each DRRM coordinator to the respective areas of responsibility. And also for the tracking of officials during disasters or emergencies, all local DepEd key officials are required to report their status to ensure that their safety and local leadership are maintained. Reporting of local disasters or emergencies and its effects. The DRRM coordinator shall submit their reports to the immediate higher office for the division office, whichever is possible. In cases wherein the report should be submitted directly to the central office, the immediate higher office should be copy furnished with the same report. And for the information management protocols, before any hazards, in the event of any hazard, the DepEd Central Office shall collect from and disseminate consolidated reports to all affected regions, divisions, and other schools the following information. So before hazard advisories and occurrences, the baseline data, prevention and mitigation measures, preparedness measures undertaken. And after the hazard, the personnel affected, personnel tracking, learners affected, schools used as evacuation centers, class suspension and resumption, classroom damages, temporary learning spaces, and other interventions. And for Rather 1 and Rather 2, so this is the form of our Rather 1, and this is how we text. This is the format, and this is the example of the text message, and similar also to Rather 2.